As you enter into pupillage, what would you like to know? What is it like on the other side of the fence? What do you think a pupil master expects of you? Hi, my name is GK Ganesan, and welcome, my dear friend, to another episode of GK TV. Today's topic is words to a pupil over coffee. I've had coffee with many pupils, and these are the words I've spoken to them. Now, a few months ago, you were at the university, and you are now at the bar. What would your life be like for the next 9 months? The bar is not a local tavern, but a body of legal practitioners. An acolyte entering the bar is called a pupil. Now, some lawyers use the word chambi. These are those who don't know anything about the traditions of the bar or, in fact, the provisions of the Legal Profession Act 1976. So avoid the term chambi. It detracts from the pupil's dignity and it denigrates the pupil master. The senior practitioner who supervises the pupil is called the pupil master or simply the master. And that word is of old coinage. It's from England. It's not to be taken in a literal sense. The master is like the road sign. He's only a guide. You're not his slave. Now, let's speak about teaching styles. Different pupil masters have different styles of teaching. Some are good and some are indifferent. There are those who exploit and there are those who are completely beyond the pale, avoid the latter like the plague. Every profession has them. Now, my own training was different. As a pupil, of course, you aspire to be trained under a good pupil master. That is, if you desire to become a good lawyer. I had similar aspirations. Most pupils don't care for that. They want to get over the 9 months of forced internship and desire to be cut loose. We'll come to that soon enough. Now, I was trained in a mid-sized firm and they huddled us all into a pupil's room. When summoned, we went out to face the staff, the lawyers, and sometimes the masters themselves. We were so many bits of cannon fodder. We did the work everyone avoided: the photocopying, the binding, the indexing, and the highlighting of case law. We were the local porters. We carried all of our pupil masters' bags. We filed documents in court, and sometimes when the firm's dispatch clerks were busy or the chief clerk was feeling particularly sadistic, we served documents on difficult opponents as well. All that experience came in rather useful when I had my own chambers. I didn't have to beg anyone to do anything. I knew exactly what had to be done and in what order. My master staff taught us well. Some of this work I still do. My pupillage was, however, a trying time. I had a master who was difficult to please. In fact, I ended up having not only one but two good pupil masters, and both were leaders in their own fields. We called them the two bosses. They would influence my career, but I wouldn't know it at that time. Many senior practitioners who had been trained under these two men still speak of each of them fondly and how much they have learned from each of these masters. My pupil master once said to me, if you can take me, you can take anyone, any judge, any opponent, anywhere with both your hands tied behind your back. And that, after 25 years, I think, seems to be quite right. Now, the materials with which we masters work can vary. One can master the law, but to master aptitude, that takes genetics and patience. When pupils present themselves to us, we have to work with all sorts of material like putty. Pupils come in all manner of color and consistency. A good pupil requires only a little buffing. A bad one requires major realignment. Some require rough sculpting. Some, unlike putty, cannot be shaped at all. Pupils have simple demands. They want to do minimal work and reap all the benefits. They want to do corporate law without quite meaning what the word corporate work entails. But it does have an important sounding name, doesn't it? They want to earn loads of money. Well, at least I can hear them say 7,500 within the first 3 years per month. And what about a BMW? They ask to leave chambers by 5 p.m. because they've got to be at the pub. They also need Saturdays off and are often heard to say, "What do you mean I don't get to be a partner in 4 years?" Yet, even into their 6th month, Most pupils are unable to master the most basic legal concepts. They are unable to distinguish fundamental legal terminology, for example, the difference between a warranty, a term, a condition, and an innominate term, and how this distinction matters in practice. They don't possess enough confidence to write a simple letter to a client. They don't know how to speak to a client who is hurting inside, who seeks assurance and legal remedy. Now, the pupils I've trained were numerous. I remember them all. Each was unique. It seems to me that as time passes, pupils' expectations seem to become more and more outlandish. They desire the benefits of the legal profession, but they will not bear its burdens. Pupils do not realize that the burdens come first. Benefits you have to wait upon. You have to be patient. Mine took about 10 years. Now, this is the complaint of the senior bar. Now, as for techniques, some techniques cannot be taught. They must be experienced. Some things I can teach you, some things I cannot. These are beyond instruction. You've got to pick them up yourself. You have to observe. You have to learn by doing it. Sometimes, unfortunately, you have to be thrown into the deep end of the pool. That may traumatize you, but you shall have to find a way out, because that is exactly what is practice going to be. It's a typical commando technique. Remember the phrase, learning the ropes? That is exactly it. You cannot be taught how to yank the whole yard until you get it into your hands. You have to sense the pull of the mainsail. Same thing in the law. So I have to teach you all that, and you shall have to hang around me all day. You shall have to observe and learn from what I do. When I have a moment to spare, I will explain why I did something in a particular way. Often, I will not. So you have to trust me. You have to bear with it and soldier on. As I go along, I will point out different kinds of work and how each has to be treated. You will not find it in a book. It will feel like fixing small pieces of a large number of unfinished, confusing jigsaw puzzles of all different colors and shapes. As time passes, you will begin to see the larger picture, but you'll have to be patient. Are you okay with that? Then we can work. Now, having a pupil is a terrible responsibility. Legal work is complex and tedious, and when you do teach, you need to repeat yourself, and it grates your soul. Masters need a great deal of perseverance to instruct pupils. Why teach for 2 hours when you can do it all by yourself in 30 minutes? Some partners in the firm just will not accept pupils. They complain that pupils create more problems by being around, and they say it takes energy, effort, and patience. It's true. A pupil has to be taught one fiber at a time at the odd moments when a case is going on, when the client is clamoring for your attention, when the other side's lawyer piles on the pressure, or when the judge is breathing down your neck, or when written arguments have to be drafted within a short time, affidavits are outstanding, or when there is a trial going on tomorrow and we haven't prepared cross-examination questions, or when one is shuttling from court to court or from corporate meeting to a negotiation that is really difficult. But someone has to teach. Let's talk about educational moments. Suppose an educational moment presents itself. I think this is very important. My pupil should be told about it. You can't squander that opportunity. It may be gone in a flash and never come again. This is the best time to get the pupil's attention. It'll be no benefit to you. It's a burden. If the pupils master this technique, they'll be set for life. You know it, but your pupils don't. So you call all the juniors to your side, dropping everything and muttering darkly. They gather around. They put on a martyr's face. Describing the problem, you teach them how to analyze the facts, how to deploy the law, and how to arrive at a neat, economical, and quick solution. You demonstrate various techniques not taught at the bar school. In 10 minutes, you're done. You dismiss them. Rolling their eyes, they return to their tables. Our work is unappreciated, unrewarding, and exhausting. But, somebody has to do it. We know this happens, but we teach anyway. 20 years later, you come across your former pupil at some function. He accosts you with a gratifying tone. He relates how he had found your lessons to be a lifesaver. He wants your approval. He waits for it. You smile. He doesn't know. Most pupil-masters don't need gratitude. They are relieved you did the right thing. Despite the most strenuous efforts, most pupils care little for technique. They regard you as, and they will regale their friends with tales of how you were a slave driver. So, how do you answer this question? Do pupils from foreign universities do better? Well, not in my experience. My observations encompass all sorts of people, including those who are overseas trained. You know the type. They speak with a Slavonic accent for the first few months and consider themselves God's gift to the bar. And then there are the locally trained ones. They are no better or worse. It's all individuals. I've found some brilliant locally trained lawyers, and I've found some completely useless English trained lawyers. So, let's categorize them. The first category. Some people turn up knowing nothing and leave the firm reaffirming your faith in the human race. Some slide right into the system, understanding what it requires of them, and others just mark time and move on. The dangerous second category are those you fear associating with in public. The latter are the 3-year BMW or the corporate law sort. They'll do anything to get by. Principles do not matter to them. Money does. They will demand for higher salaries and move from firm to firm until there is no place to go. Then they open their own firm and then recede into the shadows of the legal profession. The next time you meet them is at the hearing of the disciplinary board. The third category are the social status types. These people seek the title of an advocate and solicitor because it gives them some form of social status. I don't know. I find it all mysterious. They desire the presidency of the child's parents' teachers association, or they seek the chairmanship of the local women's club, or worse, the chair of a political party. They cannot fathom why they should kill themselves on hours of research and study. The fourth category is the daddy's blue-eyed boy. This is where everything has been set up just pat for the pupil. They would glide along nicely because their father or uncle is someone pretty influential in a large legal firm, or their parents are a client of one. The pupil's retention is guaranteed. Thereafter, a few years in a political party, and lo, they become nominees for some politicians. Their career takes off. More often than not, their father, uncle, or patron dies and there's no place to go, or they get hauled up before a court facing corruption charges, as we see to this day. Then there's the fifth category. These are the commandos, my kind of people. These are those who have had nothing to start with. After years of back-breaking toil, you discern a glimmer of the law. You think the law lies tranquil in your hand, that you understand it all. Suddenly, it slips from your hand, and then you begin chasing it. It can be exhilarating if you're that sort of person. This is the person who enjoys the law for its own sake. I love pupils like that. So here's a little secret. Discern patterns and then replicate them. After years of plodding, you realize that legal practice is all about discovering repeating patterns. People are creatures of habit. The law is nothing more than human relations. Under certain sets of facts, your opponent will behave in a predictable way, as will the courts. Having discovered this pattern, you exploit it to benefit your client. Then you say the right things in the right order and at the right time. But remember, you cannot run a dishonest, unfair, or improper practice. As we seniors often say, that is not cricket. Winning is not everything. Being proper is. You're here for the long run. Forget about the short battles. They just drain your energy, attention, and resources. Keep your eye on the prize. Remember, the legal profession is an adversarial one. Don't expect favors. Your opponent is there to defeat you. He will not ask for a quarter nor give you one. And please do not piss off your opponents or the judges. They'll never forget you. You would have created a lifelong and an unnecessary enemy. But don't be cowed. Fear nothing. Fear nobody. Otherwise, you cannot survive at the bar. You need adamantine nerves. You'll have that soon enough. If you have the honor of a gentleman, the diplomacy of Henry Kissinger, the fearlessness of Subhatai, and the patience of Job, you'll be fine. Can you do it? Well, many people have done, and I'm sure you can. Is familiarity everything? Is it who you know as opposed to what? After decades at the bar, you might fall despondent. You entertain doubts whether it's all about not what you know, but who. Lawyers less clever than you, less hardworking than you, and usually less honest than you. They seem to get all the good cases and all the fat fees. They have no friends at high places or the patronage of a steady client. Yours seems to be a fate of living hand to mouth. You know, lawyers tie themselves up into all sorts of knots so as to get to know people. They put themselves in all sorts of places just to meet the one right client who will lift them to stardom and wealth. They play golf, they go clubbing, horse riding, polo. Everyone else is at it too. The doctor, the engineer, the banker, the dentist, and the politician, and all are into self-preservation. These are the hard truths, or so it seems. Do not let appearances deceive you. Your time will come. Righteousness prevails every time. Period. I've had some commando seniors. In all this melee, there is a small band of lawyers. They keep out of the fast lane, slog silently, appease their conscience, balance their bank accounts, and educate their children. In the end, they are the ones with the stamina, the strength, and the knowledge. At the end of the war, they'd be the only ones left standing. That matters. They are the legal commandos. The bar has them. You just have to look out for them. Go and ask them to teach you long after you've been called to the bar, because you can never stop learning. Well, if you ask me about my own reference points, when a pupil appears out of the blue and says, "Teach me," I have but 3 reference points. First, does this person have the right aptitude? Not how clever this person is. Should I waste my time teaching him or her? Number 2, what skills did I yearn to master when I was a pupil? Should I teach this pupil that? And number 3, what experiences were important for my own professional progress? If we accept the pupils, they are trained to become legal commandos. They are put through a difficult period. The training will be relentless and intense. It will test their bodies, their minds, and their endurance. Some of my colleagues at the bar believe in a similar system. I don't know what other people do, but this is what we do in our firm. We seniors seem to have a common policy about training. Buang yang kero, they say in Bahasa Malaysia, ambil yang jernih, throw out the bad and keep the good. That's our motto for ourselves and for you. At the door of death, I hope to look back and feel that I've left behind a good piece of my life with you. I would expect my pupils to do things a little better than I did. I desire that they leave behind them a bar and a judiciary that's a little fairer when I was given the privilege to walk into it. If you are prepared to put up with me or many others like me, I'm prepared to teach you whatever little that I know. While it will not always be a pleasant journey, it will not be an uneventful one, I promise you. You may yet find me, and others like me, a tolerable guide after all. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, share this video widely, and ring that bell. And until I see you again in another episode of GKTV, dear friend, good day to you.